Hello, this is another Sip Art painting demonstration. This is Sharon and I'm going to be showing how to make this beautiful little peacock over here. We are going to start with a redesigned decor transfer. This one is called Peacock Dreams, and anytime you have our transfers you can see everything that's included by going to the back, and you'll see all the sheets of the transfers there included with all of the designs. Now this one, I'm just going to use one of the peacocks. It does come with 5 different peacocks and feathers and so forth, so you get a lot of variety in this decor transfer. I am also going to be using impasto paints, mainly cobalt, pumpkin, bottle green, a bit of pitch black, and snow white, of course. Now you could easily add in a lighter green and a lighter blue. I do have those on hand in case we decide we want to add more feathers down here. So I started on a watercolor panel. Now you can use any canvas you want, and I actually had to cut part of his tail feathers off because the panel is only 8 by 10. When you teach this class, you can use any size canvas you want. Just gesso it first, and then you're ready to apply your transfer. Now here is the watercolor panel that I used. Now this is by Prima, and I love it. There's no prep work involved, and the watercolor paper is reinforced so it's extra thick. When you apply your transfer, it doesn't buckle or push in, and that's one of the reasons I love it. It also can go horizontally or vertically, so line up the holes that are on it, and I'm going to do this one as a horizontal. I also am bringing in brushes. Now these are by Finavere, and these are great because you get the big, medium, and large, and they also have texture elements on the other side, so make sure each student has at least 1 or 2 brushes. All right, we are ready to go. What we're gonna do first is open up our transfer. You'll get to see then some of the other peacock choices on here. I love this guy. Look how colorful he is. So we're just gonna trim around him. And that's the ease of the transfers. Just get a scissors, cut what you want to use, and save the rest in that gorgeous storage tube. These apply beautifully as well. And you know, encourage your students to personalize their Sip Art painting by maybe giving them one of the peacock feathers that's included. There are a ton in that one tube, so that it would add a little extra splash. Now let me show you. I'm gonna run this guy right up to the edge. Let me show you how much is left over of his tail. So right there. So you could easily make this into a longer, larger project for sure. Now I know I'm not gonna use all of it, so I'm gonna just center him, get him laid down on here exactly where I want him, and I am going to wrap his tail feathers around to the side so that it gives a kind of a gallery wrap. So let's go ahead and I'm going to trim just a bit off of the tail so it's easier to work with. The transfer has a protective backing. You want to just peel that off, and once you peel that off, the transfer is exposed, so as soon as you set it on anything, it will stick. So just use a little bit of care when you pick it up, and I'm just trying to align the feet down near the bottom, his chest out here on the edge, and then we're going to press him on. All right, so now we're just going to apply. You get a nice application stick in your redesign tube. This comes with every single transfer application. There's one in every single tube, so it's great to use. Redesign also has an application tool, and that is fabulous. It has multiple ends for different sizes of transfers, as well as getting into crevices and so forth. So that would be a wonderful item to grab for further Sip Art projects. We'll peel this back. It looks really clean, really good. Now I'm not going to take the whole thing off. I'm just going to trim this because I want to work on that edge. And to do that, you're going to flip your panel and bend the transfer. So we're going to be really close to the camera right now. You're just going to bend that over, and you can use either your stick or your finger or anything that feels comfortable for just applying a bit of pressure to get this all the way on to the side. And I love this part because it really does add a beautiful gallery edge, that wrapped look to your Sip Art piece. All right, so you can go ahead and you can even wrap that further, or you could totally cut this off. This is just going to be an extra piece that's not needed, but to make sure that my edge looks perfect and I don't cut it too short, I just like to wrap this final piece on the back. All right, catch the little plastic sheet here. It looks like it adhered very well. Same test, if it didn't, just push that back down and reapply. All right. That is literally the first part of your Sip Art artwork. How beautiful is that? So now we have our surface prepped. We are gonna pull out our paints and start having fun. For the next part, we are gonna go ahead and pull out our paints. I have cobalt, bottle green, pumpkin, pitch black, and snow white. Now these are the main colors you're gonna use. You are more than welcome to add a lighter blue such as azure. You can even bring in lemon peel and maybe green apple. I mean, this is up to you. What colors you wanna add to your peacock. You could totally bring in any of the colors from the transfer and have fun with it, and encourage your students to personalize theirs and make them the colors they want. Now what I'm going to do first is do the grass down here, and I want the peacock to look like he's walking in the grass, so I'm going to bring the grass up to about right here. First thing I do is get my brush wet and just add a thin layer of water. This will help my first layer of paint to go on and create kind of a wash. I found that most effective for making sure I didn't leave white areas on my backdrop. So we're gonna go ahead and get the paint on. Don't forget to do your sides. You want them to look good as well. Sometimes I just clean out my brush on the sides at the end, and then I never forget to really add color there. Don't worry about brush strokes right now because we're gonna come in and we're gonna start layering the colors. So again, you can mute your tones by adding, you know, a little bit of brown in there. You could also make it brighter by pulling in that lime green. I'm basically using the bottle green, and I will be mixing it with a little bit of black and a little bit of white, just to give me different shades with just that one color. Now I am carrying the green up just a touch, and then I want to dab off, especially on this transition line. That is where you want the colors to look good, so, and not like there's an abrupt line there. So we basically have our wash done, and now we're going to start layering colors on there. So you can use, I like an almost, not a soaking wet brush. So maybe just a little water. I'm gonna come in here, add some pounces. This is really beginner level, but you know what? I love how the brush will just let you add some texture by just using it in different ways. So the first layer was a wash, so of course that was much lighter. The second layer, some of those brush strokes had a bit more water in them, and now I'm really just picking up the solid green, going with what my brush is doing. If the bristles are drier, you're gonna get more of this look like the peacock was walking around. I love that. So we're just gonna go ahead and start layering more colors. So I might pick up a tiny bit of the black now and bring it in with some of the green. I'm using an Art Philosophy mixing flower palette for this. And again, go with what you like. If that is too dark for you and you don't like that much black, wet your brush, come in here, add more water, and grab your paper towel and dab it up. It will lighten that black and it will also help it blend. Paper towel is your friend and water is your friend. And I really don't think you can make mistakes with this, because you can dilute the colors at any point and you can release some of that color by lifting it up. So let's go ahead and do it with this as well. I love how the water blends it a bit for that, well, the watercolor look. It looks really good. All right, so we're not gonna work too much on this until we finish his feathers. I just wanted a bit of the bottom done with the green. So now let's go ahead and work on the top. So the top, we're gonna be focusing on these two blues. And again, pick the color you like. You can go ahead and use the cobalt, or you can go ahead and start with azure. And I'm going to just do a wash again. Let's wet this first. That wash is helping you get a little bit of color all over to make sure there's no white left, and it also helps the other colors blend in better. So now I did the wash. I really want this part to be more white, lighter, and then slowly build to darker colors down here. So I am going to go ahead and start dabbing some of the azure over this way, leaving this area right here clear. And again, just dabbing it on, coming in with some water to help it float around and blend. And then keep doing that. Just build up your colors to how you like it. Don't forget to do your sides at some point. You get that true gallery wrap look. Now I think I want my brush just a little bit drier. I'm gonna come in here. That's definitely adding a lot more blue, but I'm gonna also come in with some cobalt. I did not clean my brush in between. I'm just kind of mixing these two colors. Now that is really bold. I don't mind it at all, but I'm going to wet it down and then I'm gonna lift some of that off. Get this side done. Don't forget to add a little dabs on your edges. All right, now I have the black done. I might go ahead right now and tap in a little bit of this white paint so that I can get just a little bit more dimension going and give it a chance to dry while I'm working on the feathers. You don't want it to look polka dot. You don't want it to look like there's stuff spattered. So if you just get too much white, again, what's the trick? Add water, dab it off. We're just going for more layers and a little bit more texture. At the end, we will come in and we will spatter white and black, as that adds a really, really fun touch and a lot more texture. So I really feel like this is foolproof. All you need to do is make sure you got your handy dandy water and toweling, and you'll be good to go. Now don't be worried about adding color onto the transfer itself. It's smart to do that. It blends in the background. So don't be afraid to get a little bit of the green up there, a little bit of the white, the highlights. You don't want the transfer part to be totally bare because you want it to work with your background. It'll look a lot more realistic if you get some of those white, especially the white and the black on there. Okay, so we have the base colored. Let's go in and start doing the feathers next. So we have our base done, and now what we want to do is we want to build feathers. So what I did is I took the base transfer and I started swooshing feathers out that way and just building them up. So that's what we're gonna do, and you can use really any colors. Let's actually add some brown to this one. Dark chocolate, I think that might look good. If you're trying to stick with the cooler colors, I would do more of the feathers in the green and then pull in some blue. We're just gonna have a nice assortment of feathers here. So for the base, I'm just gonna go ahead and start doing strokes. Now it's really all about the pressure on the brush, so that when you start down here, you have a thicker stroke and then you slowly lighten it and lift it as you come up. And you can practice on the back of your panel. I think that's a great way to practice your strokes. If I just keep my brush down the whole time, I'm gonna get a very solid feather. But if I learn to start bringing it up and starting darker and heavier and then slowly going lighter, I'll slowly get that nice thinner feather up here at the top. I find it easier to do feathers when I actually turn the canvas, because my hand naturally wants to go like in an arc this way. Now his feathers need to go all the way up right here. So I'm kind of just creating a base for him, and then I will know where to build the others, and there won't be blue sky. So again, it's kind of like building that wash in the back so that this is all covered with his feathers, and they need to look natural. They need to look like they're coming off of here and going up. So orient your canvas any way you need to. And don't forget to bring some of the feathers to the side. I've been ignoring this, so I'm just gonna paint a lot of them right now, just as a base, and then I can come in with the different colors and slowly build. Peacocks have that really nice full spread of feathers. All right, so let's just start adding different colors. I went back and I added some darker brown. It's just about layering, and then your feathers will start to look more natural. I know I started with brown, but that was more of like the wash. And then I went to the cobalt, some of the azure, and now I'm going back with some of the brown. I really am hoping to get wispier ends. And that just takes a little bit of practice with your brush and a fine brush. So make sure you have a nice thin one. And you know, if you don't like the feather, you can go over with another color. It will kind of cover it up, and just keep layering. I'm gonna come in and just go through my palette now, adding feathers of all the colors. Again, if you get one you don't like, blot it up right away. No one will ever know. Yeah, this one's just getting too thick, so I'm just gonna thin out my paint a little, get it off my brush. There we go. It just needs to be thinner for the black because it's such a dark color. And again, a really light hand. I love how I can dab and the ones I didn't like just disappear. Now, I want to let the top feathers dry just a bit because they're starting to get muddied. So while that's drying, I'm going to work on the bottom feathers. These you want to make like they're natural, coming right out of this portion. Again, you can start with any colors you want. Because they're dark here, down here in the darker zones, I actually am going to start with black. And you can paint on the canvas and on the transfer. When you're painting on the transfer, make sure it's not watered down totally so that you get a little bit of the pigment on there. I am really just kind of building a base right here. And again, if you feel like it might be too dark, come in and dab that off. And then go through your color palette, pick the colors you like, and start adding the feathers. Now, if you find it easier to go, if you're right-handed, it is naturally easier to do an arc this way. Just turn your canvas upside down and try that. It's okay, no matter which direction you want to go, use the direction that works the best for you, and you'll get more realistic results that way. Now for this next layer, I picked an even finer brush. It's really, really thin. This is gonna give me the wispiest feathers ever. And I'm gonna work back and forth between the top and the bottom. We're just building the feathers up. I'm using the green right now, and I might come in now and add a little bit of the black. I like to mix my colors, so let's see what happens here. Took a little touch of the green, a little bit of the black. So you did your big strokes to fill in the background, then your kind of your medium ones, and now pick the finest brush you can find and come in and do some of the wispier ones. These are the tiny little hairs that I feel like we can come in with some of the brighter colors. So let's go ahead and add a bit of pumpkin. So I already have it out here. I am going to use my smallest brush just because it's a bold color. So I want it to be very, very delicate. So just thinning this out. And then I am gonna start in the middle, because if I got a lot of paint, that's where it's gonna come out. Where I would want the most to show is right here. Now, the smaller the brush, the more you will have to reload that. Keep that in mind. I love that orange. Now my last two steps will be to add the white and the black, and I like to do that because it really does bring in the lowlights and the highlights. So what I'm going to do is just grab a little bit of black on my small brush. I'm gonna come in here and do just a couple feathers. Just a little bit. You don't want it to be overwhelming because it's such a dark color. But we're gonna do the same for the white, and it's because it's such a light color. We don't want that the highlights to steal the show either. And of course, bring your colors always to the sides as well. All right, so we have the black on. You see how just a little bit added that shadow. And now we're gonna pick up white. And I'm always picking just a tad on my brush. I'm opening, going into a new well, making sure I got water in there. At this point, I want the pure black and the pure white, so I'm using new wells to mix those in. Turning again, it's just easier to get the natural look this way. Now I'm trying to use a really light hand, and some of this will blend because my paints are not totally dry, the orange and the black, but I feel like that is okay. It will not be as bold. So if you want really bold, make sure it's dried totally in between, but I love how it's blending in there. And just like that, I got the really dark, I got the really light, and then all the other colors mixed in. And then I'm going to do down here, he's just going to get a couple white feathers. Do what you like. Do what you think looks great. Now these are blending in. Can you see that? The white isn't a pure white, but that's okay. I think it looks great. I'm highlighting the flow of his feathers right here. So make these as wispy as you can. I love that. Let's see if it looks, I feel like right here we'll dab just a bit of that so it doesn't look so abrupt coming. You want the feathers, of course, to look natural. All right. When you're happy with it, you can go on to the next step. Now, this is where you are going to have so much fun because your customers are going to want to sit and play all day. But at this point, I say, when you think you got it good, let's go in and get some spatters on here. And we're going to do that with both colors, black and white. I feel like that will add the most contrast. So what I'm going to do is take my biggest brush. I'm going to pick up this white paint, a chunk of it, get a new mixing well, get some water in there. I'm just mixing that up really well. And then what I want to do is take another brush or my scissors, and I am going to start spattering this. You can see it right here. Now, if you back up, you'll get smaller splatters. If you don't like them, that's where you come in with your paper towel. If some of them are just too much, go ahead and dab some of those off. You want it to look natural and you want it to be more your style. So you don't have to have a ton of them. I feel I want more up down here than I do up at the top because this is the ground and it's spattered. Let's get a couple up there, and don't forget to do the sides. And then what you're going to do is switch brushes, pick up a little black, and do the same thing. Get that watered down so you can make black spatters. Okay, I got that picked up. And then just go ahead and tap with something. I'm gonna start down here. Get the base with the most, but I do want some up here. I got a lot like that, and I don't really want a ton right here. Remember, I'm trying to keep that area just a little bit lighter. I like it. I think that looks good. All right. Don't over spatter unless you love that look, but I think overall he is done. He has the sides, of course, you can go in and clean up your paint and finish on the sides, but basically we did the redesign transfer, then we did a wash on the bottom, a wash on the top, and slowly built up the layers, creating the extra feathers, so he looks nice and full, and he is ready to go on your wall. So thank you. This is Sip Art. This is with the Peacock Dreams, and this is part of Prima and Redesign with Prima.